Welcome back to a slice of news where I cut you off a slice of news. As the ongoing government shutdown reaches its 30th day, shutdown fatigue is starting to finally set in for Congress, and congressional Republicans and Democrats are reportedly looking into drafting some sort of proposal to end the shutdown as soon as next week. While this would ordinarily and understandably come as good news, a lot of people are worrying that what this is showing is that congressional Democrats are preparing to fold. I think it's impossible to deny that the longer this shutdown goes, the more painful and harder it's getting to be for all Americans. So any sign that the second longest government shutdown in American history is possibly coming to an end sounds good on paper until you start to think of what the cost of that swifter ending might be. Congressional Democrats made clear that the Affordable Care Act subsidies cannot be allowed to expire, and Medicaid cuts that were made in the president's big beautiful bill have to be rolled back, because without them, healthcare would become astronomically unaffordable for many Americans. It's where they have pledged to stand firm. It's something many have applauded congressional Democrats for, because for the first time it seems they are not immediately conceding to Republican demand, and they are being very strong-willed and not allowing some of the most vulnerable Americans to lose access to healthcare that they can afford. Maybe finally starting to dispel the notion that the Democratic Party is out of touch with the needs of the common people, and showing that they truly do care about their well-being and want to fight for them. But according to one unnamed Democratic senator, quote, "My assessment is that we've won anything that we could possibly win, and the cost of continuing the shutdown is going to be felt by people who are going to food banks and federal employees." If this sentiment that the cost of holding out and being strong against Republican pressure to just sign a clean resolution and reopen the government is just too outweighed by the cost to the American people, is shared by others within his party, that's not a good sign, because there really isn't a whole lot of middle ground to negotiate on. If congressional Democrats are willing to start compromising with Republicans to give them what they want, Democrats don't really have a whole lot to bargain with. Senate Majority Leader John Thune has said that he promises to negotiate with Democrats on extending the Affordable Care Act subsidies once the government opens, but that he's not willing to negotiate on healthcare policy with the Democrats while the government is shut down. But trusting a Republican to negotiate after you've already given them what they wanted is like the frog trusting the scorpion. There is practically zero chance that they're going to follow up on that promise. Congressional Republicans have shown that they are perfectly willing to watch people starve and lose their health care as long as they come out on top. But they're also willing to let that pressure build, possibly giving weaker centrist Democrats time to lose their nerve and possibly fold. Moderate Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski was quoted as saying, "There's a good group of folks who realize we are all past time to have this behind us. This is not good. This is not good from a governance perspective. This does not reflect well on anybody and is hurting real people in real time. So let's figure out a way to end it." Of course, as a Republican, her idea of how to end it involves reopening the government and then only negotiating with Democrats for health care afterwards, which would involve giving Republicans what they want. So that's probably not the ideal solution. It really seems that we're in an impasse where both sides say, look, we've given as much as we're going to give and we will give no more. And that's not a position where you can negotiate from, because that means either way somebody is going to have to lose. And neither side is willing to lose. Understandably so, I suppose. Even despite this fact, moderates on both sides of the aisle are saying that progress is supposedly being made towards some sort of compromise, such as moderate Democrat Jeanne Shaheen, who says there have, quote, been a lot of positive discussions that have been helpful. And Democratic Senator Gary Peters went on to say that, quote, "We are continuing. There's still more that has to be done. Sometimes the path has twists and turns, but it's a path in the right direction. I think we'll find an end eventually." And yeah, they'll definitely find an end, but the question is, are these moderates going to be the weak links in the strong Democratic chain and cause everything that that they worked for and stood strong for in these last 30 days to begin to fall apart just to get out of keeping the government shut down longer and to save face for their own political careers. Though on the topic of preserving one's political career, it seems that Republicans in Congress are standing strong in not giving Democrats what they're asking for, not out of a desire to stand up for their strong Republican values in face of the radical left Democrats, but because they feel like they cannot go and vote for giving the Democrats what they're asking for in terms of health care because the president would not allow them. While I'm not suggesting that President Trump called them up personally and said, "You better not vote for what the Democrats want," though honestly, how much time he spends not actually governing and out golfing and with free time, he certainly has the time and opportunity to personally call every one of the Republican Congress people to personally voice his desire for them to not capitulate to Democrats' demands. He knows how bad it would look for both his administration and the Republican Party as a whole if the shutdown ended with Democrats actually getting what they asked for. It would lay bare just how ineffectual and incompetent the Republican Party is when it comes to governing this nation. And since he views everything as a game, the last thing he's willing to do is to even be perceived as having lost. So since Congressional Republicans know just how angry it would make our supreme leader if they were to join with their congressional opposition to find a sort of compromise to reopen the federal government that included healthcare negotiations prior to a government reopening, they dare not break rank with their fellow Republicans and draw the ire of the great orange president. So when you really get down to it, we're all stuck in this government shutdown. People are about to pay massive amounts more for their health care, some of which is so high that they will not be able to afford it, and people are losing their ability to feed themselves and their family when their SNAP benefits run out the day after tomorrow, all to appease the president and his massive ego, who doesn't want to be seen as weak or losing to the Democrats at the end of this government shutdown battle. When looked at it from that perspective, this whole thing feels so pointless, so unnecessary. It's not two sides battling out on their ideological lines and not willing to go against their deeply held values and beliefs as Democrats or Republicans. It's about one party asking for completely reasonable things to help all Americans, not only their own party, but all Americans, and the other party just being too scared to make Daddy Trump angry, so they won't do anything. I think one thing this shutdown has made crystal clear for all of us is just how we are viewed by those in politics. The common people are seen as pawns, something that is often expendable for political gain or to save political face, even when it's real people's real lives that are really going to go hungry, that are really going to not be able to afford medical care, are all pieces to be won or lost on the game board of national politics. But it's not a game, and we collectively can't go on like this much longer. Almost from the very start of this government shutdown, I wondered what is going to be the breaking point? What is going to be the thing that definitively ends this shutdown? I hoped and remain hoping that the answer is not that Democrats fold to Republicans and they lose out on the fight they've been waging these long 30 days. But if I had to put money on what it's going to be, I'm still putting my money on the air traffic controllers to be the thing that breaks this shutdown, just like they broke the last one. The fact that they've been working now a month without pay in a high-stress job like that seems unimaginable. And to ask them to continue to do that indefinitely seems unthinkable. They just can't. I mean, they literally just can't. They need to live. They have food that needs buying. They have rent to pay. They have expenses. They cannot keep working at this job without being paid. Commercial and domestic air travel is paramount to the U.S. economy. It cannot grind to a halt, but without air traffic controllers, there's no way to have it going. So the air traffic controllers are the key to air traffic pandemic and the key to the economy. So if they manage some sort of action, that could be it. If those in Congress can't find some sort of mutually agreeable compromise on their own, maybe they're going to have to be forced into finding one from outside politics. Whatever it is that manages it, I really hope it comes very soon so that we can all get back to some sort of sense of normalcy. Something we haven't had in what feels like forever, but it's only been 30 days, at least 30 days so far. Alright guys, that'll be it for this episode of A Slice of News. I've been your host, Mr. Slice, and until next time, when I cut you off another slice of news.